What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Metal Cult. I am your leader, and today I am taking on the massive challenge that is Darkthrone. So I have spent the entire past 4 days doing finals, studying for finals, and devoting 13 and a half hours of my life to listening to every Darkthrone album all the way through from front to back. Some of it was torture, some of it was great. So, let's go ahead and get into that. Real quick, before we do that, though, I'm going to say this right now, before the video even starts. Look, this video took a long-ass fucking time to make. Like I said, I spent almost 14 hours, probably 15, with all the writing and the fucking ranking list that I had to decide on. I spent about 15 hours on this video, plus probably the 30 to 45 minutes that it's going to take to film this video, and then the 30 to 45 minutes that it's going to take to upload this video. So, and the time to make the thumbnail and shit. So I spent a lot of fucking time on this video. So what I'm saying is, if you have a different opinion than me, which most of you probably will, my list is quite different from some others that I've checked out on the internet. But respectfully leave your opinions down below. Don't be a dick about it. Don't, basically just don't be an asshole on this channel, okay? Be respectful about it. Give me your list down below of your, the 20 albums, how you ranked them. There's a lot of albums on this list I wish I could have put higher, but there's just so many fucking albums, you have to put some of them low. And to be honest, there's, out of the 20 albums, and my computer just died. Oh boy. Let me plug this in real quick. So let me continue with my intro. Of the 20 albums Darkthrone has released, I'd probably re-listen to 15 or 16 of them. Definitely not all of them. There are sounds from Darkthrone that I am really not a fan of, and we will get into that, in this video. But till then, let me log onto my computer again real quick. I'm not editing this video, so skip ahead about 20 seconds. Just awkwardly staring at my computer. Maybe more than 20 seconds. This is taking fucking forever. Anyways, let's take this time to, how's your day? In the comments. How you doing? You doing good? I want to hear about your day. God, this is so fucking awkward, but you know what? That's okay. Alright, so I'm just gonna say it. I'm gonna fucking... Give me a second. This is such a bad take. Alright, so I'm gonna start off with 20. The Cult is Alive, 2006. I gotta put this one in 20th. Now, here's exactly what I said about the album. No. I'm not a fan of this album. The lyrics are so cliche, and it's kind of gross coming out of a band like this. Goddamn, I was a little harsh there. Not to mention, even if the lyrics were better, the songwriting is mid in a lot of places, just making it not a great album, in my opinion. The riffs are not as memorable, in my opinion. Don't get me completely wrong, though. There are a few good moments in the album. A few. So, guys, it was so laughable, some of the lyrics that were in this album, that, I don't even remember them. I should, because they were so funny, but I don't. They were just, punky as hell. Now, don't get me wrong, I like punk music when the time is right, but with Darkthrone, listen, I know a lot of you love their punk sound. To me, I don't think they pull it off nearly as well as their other styles, and I just don't see Darkthrone as that kind of band. This is, like I said, it's all opinion-oriented. This is the kind of Darkthrone that I really can't see myself getting into, and I really tried to get into, but I couldn't do it. And that was my non-biased opinion. When I went into it, did I even use that right? I don't know. It's been a long week. I went into it with an open mind. I had seen a lot of reviews, oh, this is the best sound from Darkthrone, and some reviews where it's like, no, this is the fucking worst sound from Darkthrone. Their black metal is so much better. So I went in like thinking, okay, I'm gonna think both opinions here. Let's just see what happens and see how I feel about this. I did not like it. And I had to put their 2006 album, The Cult is Alive, at the last one, simply because the songwriting was just bad, in my opinion, and the fucking lyrics were just so gross. Like, not gross in like a repulsive way, but like a simplistic punk kind of way. I felt like I was listening to a crusty black metal version of Limp Bizkit. Like, it was just not good, in my opinion. And like I said, you know, we all have our different opinions, but that's just mine, and I would love to hear your guys's down below. So, let's jump into number 19. Circle the Wagons. Let's see what I said about this one. I literally don't have much to say about these few albums in the center of their career. I just think they're boring and honestly not really the best material from this band. It's not stuff that I would really revisit. I know for some people this is their favorite side of Darkthrone, but to me, I can't really find myself enjoying these records all the way through. So, let me touch on that a little bit more. I didn't really even go into the details of Circle the Wagons because it was just a lot like the other fucking albums from this time. It all kind of sounded the same to me after a while. But, like, I understand the direction they were going. I understand that really Darkthrone is, to a lot of people, one of the only black metal bands that can pull off punk and actually make it work with a crust black metal sound to it. And I appreciate that about this band, that they have such a crisp following that people can look at that and say, like, this works. And, you know, I can understand how from some people that does work. In my mind, it doesn't as much, but I can see it. I get that it's there. Circle the Wagons, I don't know. I'll have more to say about other albums when we go further on, but to me, these all kind of just sound the same, which brings me to number 18, Fuck Off and Die. So I've seen this ranked really high and I've seen this ranked really low, and I have it really low. Again, I tried to enjoy this album. I tried to enjoy this sound that Darkthrone put out. Also, let's talk about years. The Cult is Alive came out in 2006. I had Circle the Wagons at 19 from 2010. Fuck Off and Die came out, and I want to say 07. The only thing I said about this album was no. It started off okay, but the more you hear it, the more you realize it's just literally one and the same with the rest of the albums. Like, I'm just going to keep saying this, and I know a lot of you guys are going to fucking hate me for it, but that's okay. I understand. Let's get past number 17, and then we can really go into these other albums in depth. I'm just trying to get the ones that I view as not so great out of the way. Darkthrones and Black Flags I had at 17. Now, this album was a lot better than the other three for the first half of the album. The second half of the album, when you reach, like, the sixth song, is just absolutely dog shit. Let me pull this one up real quick. This one came out in 2008. I said this album sounds really good and dark until about the sixth song, and then it just turns into a shit show. I like this one a little bit better than The Cult is Alive, simply for the fact that it's just not as cliche. But the back half of the album is absolute shit to me, and that's why this one still ranks low. Now, I'm not calling Darkthrone a shitty band. They're a great fucking band with a lot of diversity and a lot of ideas and a lot of execution that is... it's just incredible. So, now that we've got past those four, it's time to go into my more, like, you know, my more favorite albums by them. So, coming in at number 16 is The Underground Resistance. Let's see what I said about this one. This one came out in 2013, I believe. Alright, The Underground Resistance. I think this one kind of marks the end of their second wave of their career. And what I mean by that is, you can tell that they were kind of wrapping up this punk sound in a way. by the time that this record came out, because stylistically this album was still somewhat punk-esque, but it was changing as we watched it grow. I think this was definitely the best album since 2004. Everything in between was just kind of not good for me. And I don't mean that with any disrespect. It's just my personal opinion. I said this before. I can see why some people love the work from the second wave, but it's not for me. This album seems to mark a lot of their key styles in their career. There are some insanely high vocals in there, which are very impressive, and you really didn't see in the previous, 4 albums that came out before that. It's still very punky in a way. I really miss the black metal sound, like the strict black metal sound from them. I was ranking these as I went, so I was like listening to each studio album from 1991 to 2022. So I just finished their last album like literally like 20 minutes ago. So I listened to the discography in order all the way through. So that's what I said. Like I was really at that point, like that 5th album into their punk sound. I was like, God, I fucking miss the strict black metalness that they used to be. That's what I meant by that. I really miss the black metal sound, especially after listening to this many records in a row like this. But I will say that this is definitely their strongest work coming out of the second era of Darkthrone by far. And I agree with myself on that one. This one was what, number 15? Let me look again. No, this was 16. 15 for me is very controversial in my own head. I have number 15 ranked as Goat Lord. So I think that this is an incredible album, don't get me wrong. I think that with the rest of their catalog, it ranks a little bit weak. But when you take a look at Goat Lord as a whole, seeing Fenriz do some like falsetto in there, I thought was really fucking cool. And to me, the blending of what did I say? Give me 1 second. Sorry, this video is all over the place, and I apologize for that. This came out in what, 96? Yeah. So I said I wrote all of this before I found out that this was a demo, but for a demo, this is really fucking good. And literally on par with some of their early albums. I mean that to a certain extent. The material relates a lot to a Soulside Journey. I was expecting a very shitty album here due to the fact that it literally came out the same year as Total Death, and I was mistaken. This album highlights a lot of the key styles that make Darkthrone who they are. This album sounds a lot like their first album with a little bit more black metal style vocals, and to me I think that's an incredible and genius mix. The lead singer's falsettos and or female vocals are actually really fucking good for what they are, and I think that it's a very bold and brave choice for the album, and I like that. This album is also weird as fuck, but in a really good way. Death metal with black metal atmosphere is something I need more of in my life, and I agree with that. Myself, from like what, 3 days ago, 2 days ago? When did I listen to this? I don't know. But yeah, no, I actually really like Goat Lord, and I would go back and listen to this album again. It sucks that I have to rank it down at 15. I just don't think that it really fits the style of the rest of their music. As an album, though, like if it was just a single album, I think it's fucking amazing. I know a lot of people disagree with me on that, and people are like, God, you're talking a lot of good stuff about this album, and it's coming in 15th. I put it down so low strictly for the fact of, like, the unorganization of the album mixed with the fact that it doesn't really blend in with the rest of their catalog. Other than a little bit of the Soulside Journey vibe in there, I don't think it really belongs as a Darkthrone album. I keep wanting to say Death Throne. I'm fucking exhausted, guys. This week has sucked. Let's see. 14. Now, a lot of you guys are going to be like, what is this kid talking about? I put Hate Them at 14. Now, this came out, I want to say 03. What did I say about this album? Yeah, I didn't really have much to say about this album at all. I just said, for me, this album, I was just kind of bored all the way through it, and I don't know what else to say about the album. Guys, to me, I don't know what it was about Hate Them. I know a lot of people talk highly of this album, but for me, I was laying in bed completely wide awake and not tired at all, but this album made me tired because I was so fucking bored listening to it. There just really wasn't a lot there for me. I think this is where they were like trying to reform their sound into something else, and or bring back some old school elements from their sound, but it was just a blend of weird shit for me, and it wasn't even weird, it was just really mid, and honestly, like, kind of hard to listen to, because I was just so undeniably fucking bored. So, I don't know. I have Hate Them at, hello, computer? I had that at 14 for that reason. So, yeah. I think that the following album, like Sardonic Wrath, I think it's Sardonic Wrath, was a lot better than Hate Them, and the fact that it came out just a year later was incredible. Let me move on to number 13. Astral Fortress. Now, I put their newest album at number 13. I don't really have much to say about this album either. It's the only one... I don't know. Like, what do you say about Astral Fortress? I think it was just a little bit weaker than their most recent albums. Like, starting in 2016 to now, I think it was the weakest of those four. And I'll be excited to see what their next album sounds like if they come out with another one, which I'm sure they will. I mean, it's Darkthrone. They've had 20 fucking albums since 91. So, yeah. I mean, Astral Fortress... It's a good album, don't get me wrong. Like I said, I would re-listen to this any day. The vocals were a little bit different on this album, and I didn't know how I felt about it. But, again, not a bad album. Number 12. This is weird, because I had no idea that this was Darkthrone the first time I listened to this album. There used to be a channel, and I'm sure some of you will recall this. They had about 130,000 subscribers when they finally got... either fucking taken down for copyright or something, I don't know. But the channel completely disappeared from the face of YouTube, and it was called the Metal Archive. I found Darkthrone on there, and I listened to this album, and I wasn't a fan in the beginning. I was not a fan of Darkthrone whatsoever, and this was like a year and a half ago, maybe. Maybe around a year ago that I listened to this album for the first time. Eternal Hails. I thought the album art was cool as fuck, and I was like, let me just click on this and listen to it. I got about halfway through it, and I was like, this is not for me. I listened to it again tonight. This came out in 2021. This is a good album. I really enjoyed this one all the way through. I like Eternal Hails a lot. Like I said, down to the album art. I think it's a great organized album, especially to come out in the fucking 2020s. With all the shit that we've been through these past 3 years, like, I think Eternal Hails is a really strong album for what it is. And I'm not going to take back my word on that. That's just how I feel about that. I don't know if this one has mixed feelings as well. I don't know where people typically put Eternal Hails, but for me, it just comes in number 12. There are albums, in my opinion, that are better than this, but this is by far not the worst. Eternal Hails, I think, is just structured amazingly. Again, the vocals are different on this album, but I actually liked it with this style of music. Each album from Darkthrone, other than like the 1992, 1993, and 1994, they all have like slightly different styles in them. And to me, that's cool as fuck. That you can take like 4 different genres of metal, subgenres of metal, and turn them all into different stylistically organized albums. That's cool. Coming in at 11 is Old Star. Now, to me, everything about this album is good. It's dark. There's slow parts. There are the fast parts. The album art is dope as fuck. And again, the fact that this came out of their newer Wave 3 sound in a band can be, almost 30 years into their career and still release an album like this. I think that Old Star is definitely great, and the name too. Like when you take the name and apply it to what Darkthrone is as a band, I think it's really cool because they took a lot of their older elements and put that into this album. So it's kind of like a reflection of what the band is as a whole, and going back to their roots a little bit, which is really nice. So that's kind of how I feel about this one. Now, number 10, I'm going to talk about a little bit more. Arctic Thunder. This one came out in 2016. This immediately followed The Underground Resistance, which came out in 2013. I have this one ranked 6 places higher than that because I think that this one really, again, goes back to their old school sound. And to me, this was an incredible comeback for having those 5 punk albums in the middle of their career. When I heard this after listening to those 5 albums, it was like, I'm home. You know what I mean? Like, it just felt so good to hear that sound again, mixed in with some newer elements. And a lot of people give this album art shit for having color, like the blue and everything, and the fire. I think that it is perfect, and it fits the entire theme of this album. And I think that there could not have been a better album in their Wave 3 catalog of music that could have come after The Underground Resistance. That's just kind of how I feel about it. I think this album is incredibly consistent from front to back, and it has a great theme. It feels like a concept album, but I could be wrong on that. I have no idea. Yeah, Arctic Thunder was a great album, in my humble opinion. So let's move on to number 9, Ravishing Grimness. The reason I have this one above Arctic Thunder, which I think is an incredible album, is based on old sound and consistency. Now, a lot of people are like, dude, this album sucks. It's boring. To me, it's not boring. To me, it still has their original black metal sound, and it was kind of like their dying wave. It was one of the last dying waves of their first wave. I could have worded that a lot better. It was one of the dying sounds of their first sound. The dying sound of their first wave is what I'm trying to say here. I'm sorry, this video is all over the place. I think Ravishing Grimness is a good album strictly for the fact that it does have that old sound mixed with the consistency. Now, the reason it has so much consistency is because it is a slightly boring album. But the fact that everything is written together and that everything is kind of boring makes it a good album and very listenable because it has a continuous theme throughout the album. And that's one of the things in my mind that just makes up a really good album from front to back. So I really respect that about Ravishing Grimness. And I think that, you know, their 2001 album really brought back their original sound a lot better. But after that, there really wasn't too much other than Sardonic Wrath. So yeah, Ravishing Grimness is a great album. Now, the only thing I do not really like about this album is the album art. It just really, I don't know. I think it would have been great without the face and if the font was different for the name of the album. The only thing that makes it really look like a black metal album is the actual Darkthrone logo. So a lot of people shit on it for that, but again, you know, that's kind of how I feel about it too, but I think it just could have been a lot more of a stronger album. That's why it comes in 9th place. And coming in at 8, and again, I could be saying this completely wrong. Don't judge me too hard. 2004, Sardonic Wrath. For coming after Hate Them, which I put in 14th, I thought that this was a great album all the way through. Let me see what I said about this one. To be honest, this was much better than Hate Them. It was much heavier, and it just wasn't that boring. The album art is better, a hell of a lot better. The songs are better, and there isn't as much repetition. Couldn't have said it better myself. Yeah, that's how I feel about Sardonic Wrath compared to Hate Them, which had come right before that. Let's see what else we got here. All right, number 7. I know a lot of you would put this higher. I know a lot of you would have this probably at number 4. Panzerfaust, 1995. What were my notes on this one? For this one, all I'm going to say is I have to give the instrumentalists a lot of credit. But the fucking vocals just sound like someone is throwing up in your face the entire time, and I was not a fan of these vocals whatsoever. There were only a couple instances where it actually sounded good, but like I said, the instrumental work on this album is really incredible. I'm not sure what happened to the vocals. This was probably one of their most strong albums, if it had better vocals. Now, I found out later... I found out later that Fenriz was either having a hard time or just choosing to go this route with alcohol at the time. And that most of the vocals, if not all of them, were recorded while Fenriz was completely fucking wasted out of his mind. So I gotta give the band some credit for pulling off this album and still being this high in their catalog for a lot of people, due to the fact that there was that alcohol struggle. And whether it be a struggle or not, I don't know. I don't know too much about Darkthrone. I literally started listening to Darkthrone like Monday night. So I've been like a 3 or 4 day fan so far. And yeah, so this is all based on like first listen. You know what I mean? And just ranking them in my head, making a detailed list of what's going on inside my head and why I'm ranking them where they are. And I did this in a matter of like 4 days, 3.5 days. So give me some slack here. I try to crank these videos out as quick as possible, and while giving my most detailed opinion. And sometimes that's not that much because I'm very tired being 18, a senior in a high school. Especially in 2022, they put a lot of work on us, especially in the school district that I'm in, but I'm getting way off topic. Yeah, I have a lot of homework, and I'm also in extracurriculars too. I'm in show choir, so I've been doing that for 7 years. Yeah, Panzerfaust is a pretty good album. Like, all the way through, again, it's consistent, and I really wish the vocals were better. If they could do a remaster on this album, that would be so fucking good and worthy of a long listen. How do you pronounce this? Number 6, Plague Wielder. Plague Wielder? Yeah. So many people have this ranked super fucking low. And a lot of people do it strictly for the album art. And I'm with you guys on that one, that ranked this one so low. 2001 Plague Wielder. I don't like the album art at all. I don't like what it is. I don't like the color scheme. And I don't care that there is color in this. I know a lot of people shit on it strictly for that reason. Like, oh, yeah, no, it's their first album art with, like, actual color in it. To a certain extent, I agree with that. I don't think it fits the theme of the rest of their album art. But it's more the fact that there's like yellow, brown, black, gray, white, and they made the fucking Darkthrone logo red. Like, to me, that's just ugly as fuck for this album. I don't know. But let's see what I said about the actual album itself. Because as I recall, I have some good things to say about this. I think this album is a lot better than some people think it is. A lot of people hate it strictly for the album art. I gotta be honest, I fucking hate it too. I think it's ugly. I don't care. I think that this is an all-around incredible album from front to back. Insanely consistent, and it still has that old school black metal theme, even in the 2000s. A lot better than the previous album. And it was a lot better than Ravishing Grimness. Stylistically, I thought that it was an insane album. That's why I have it so far up at like number 6. I really don't have, other than the album art, I really don't have many complaints about that album. So coming in at number 5, alongside with Goat Lord, coming out in 1996, Total Death. I said I definitely like this album a lot more than the previous one, being Panzerfaust. To me, this is more of a doom style with it, with black metal vocals, and I find that really interesting. I really did see some doom elements in there. Looking back on that, I don't know if that's truly what that was, but in my head, it just gave me a doom vibe. So, yeah, I thought that was cool as hell, blending those sounds. I like this album a lot. It was very dark, and I like how they went back to their original-ish vocal sound after Panzerfaust. For being one of two full-length albums released in the same year, this is a pretty damn good album. And I also feel like I can really hear the bass in this album. Good shit. Total Death is one of the albums that for some reason my brain tuned into the bass really, really well. And I think that it's just very prominent and bold in this album. I don't know that that's correct, but it could be. And honestly, I'm just lost right now. My brain is gone. Fuck, man. Finals fucked me up bad. I'm gonna have to prepare a little better for the next video. Also, guys, I don't know what I'm doing next. I might do Emperor next. Or I might do a small video on a awesome little band called Morbid. But I also want to do Bathory at some point. And maybe Burzum and some other ones. Dark Tranquility, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. What did I have about Total Death? Soulside Journey, number 4. Their first album. Let's pull up the notes. 1991. And I mean every word of this. I think this is definitely an underrated album. It reminds me a lot of Sentenced first album. Like, what was it called? Go listen to Sentenced, their first album. Fuck, what was it called? Now it's gonna bother me. Shadows of the Past, maybe? Yeah, I think that's it. It reminded me a lot of that. And I also thought that this was an insane debut album. Overall thoughts, it was very consistent at points and then very inconsistent with others. There were a couple parts that confused me a little bit, but it wasn't very often. This one comes in number 4 for me. So, I liked that there was some diversity in this album. They were definitely trying to blend quite a few different styles with this album. It was mainly death metal. And it was weird to see like this band go death metal and then immediately switch it up and come out with A Blaze in the Northern Sky in 1992. Sorry for being this way. It is 3 in the morning. And probably cold as fuck out. So off topic right now. Yes, it is 3 degrees right now. Okay, so yeah, Soulside Journey was a great album, and it definitely gave me old school death metal vibes, which it is. That's completely what it is. Number 3, Transylvanian Hunger. A lot of people have this one at number 1. I think this is a great album. It definitely goes along with their other black metal albums of this period, having been recorded really crappily but purposely to enhance the black metal sound. I have mixed feelings on this one. Obviously, I know that it makes black metal what it is, but Darkthrone, as well as some other great black metal bands, have proven that not every black metal album has to sound like shit production-wise. It's really hard for me to rank a lot of their 90s albums because they're all so fucking good. I love this album a lot. There are some incredibly poetic lyrics in this album. I'm going to put this one neck and neck with their first, or with Funeral and Blaze, number 3. So, I do like that this album sounds like shit production-wise. It's a huge part of black metal in general. And this album came out the same year as, I always compare every album to this one, and I know that this is a entry black metal head thing to do. But I always compare every 1994 album with Mayhem's De Mysteriis Dom Santanas, because that is the album that got me into black metal. Mayhem is the story that got me into black metal. So everybody's got to start somewhere, and I know that album and that story and even the band, for what it still is today, is super overhyped, and I get that. I do. I understand that. But it is the band that got me into black metal, and that I can't lie about. Granted, I think that there are, like, 4 Mayhem albums of their 6 that I would, like, actually like to listen to. But, yeah. I compared Transylvanian Hunger to De Mysteriis Dum Santanas because they came out the same year. And, honestly, they're neck and neck for me for actually enjoying both albums. And I kind of like Transylvanian Hunger for the reason that it sounds like it was recorded inside of a tin can, because that enhances the black metal sound. Black metal was built on shitty music. Like, that's what black metal was founded for. Like, the quality of the music being bad, but dark and evil as hell. And that's exactly what Transylvanian Hunger is. And that's why I think it is one of the best black metal albums of all time, along with the next 2 that I'm going to be mentioning. Number 2 is Under a Funeral Moon, 1993. Overall, I want to say that this one has a darker element than A Blaze in the Northern Sky. You can see at this time that they were fully invested in the black metal scene. It was basically a lot like A Blaze in the Northern Sky, but it was just simply darker. And originally I had this one at number 1, but then I really had to appreciate A Blaze in the Northern Sky for what it was. So, like I said, number 2, Blaze in a Funeral, or Under a Funeral Moon. And there was actually an interview where I think Fenriz was the one that said this was their only black metal album. True Norwegian black metal album. I don't know if I agree with that. I think that 1992, 1993, and 1994, those 3 albums really do represent what black metal was at the time. And I think that they all really represent black metal to a T. But yeah, that's where I stand on that one. Coming in at number 1, A Blaze in the Northern Sky. Consistency, quality, lyrical, song style, fucking album art. The fact that this is only their 2nd album. Flawless. I love this album. It definitely shows that the band was influenced by Bathory and other black metal bands of the time. I've always been a huge fan of black metal, so it was nice. It was a nice offset following their first album. Let me just say that when it comes to these last 3 albums, they are all insanely good and interchangeable at times. They switch around a lot. Mainly Transylvanian Hunger and Under a Funeral Moon like to flip-flop from 2nd and 3rd. But they're all great albums. And, if you really take a look at every Darkthrone album, even Occult, or even the Cult album from 2006, they're all good in their own way. For the styles that they are all good. And, as much as I shit on some of the music styles that they put out, I cannot shit on them as a band as a whole, because they have put out some incredible music over the years and are still doing the same thing in 2022, almost 2023. They literally just dropped their most recent album like 2 months ago. So these dudes are still going strong as fuck, and they've been doing this for 31 years, which is absolutely insane. So it's kind of where I stand on Darkthrone. Being a new fan, I know that some of this may have been weirdly ranked, but yeah, I guess I'd have to listen to it more to give a more detailed one, but this is as far as I could go for cranking this out in 3 or 4 days, and that's where I stand on Darkthrone at the moment. So I think that this is a fair ranking. I know that a lot of people would do it a little bit differently, but let me see yours down in the comments. I'd love to see it. Until then, I'm the leader of the Metal Cult. I'm going to sign off for now and actually get some sleep. I have to get up in 4 hours. 5 hours. So, yeah, I need some actual sleep tonight. I have an entire day in a town that's 30 minutes from here tomorrow, and I have to drive there at like 8 in the morning, so Yeah, in a blizzard, too. It's gonna be like fucking -6 when I wake up. Ugh. God. I don't want to go out in that shit. And the wind chill's supposed to be like -30. Anyways. Peace out. Rock on. Fuck off. Have yourself a good night. And give me your ranking down below of how you feel about Darkthrone's albums and their entire career, and which style you like the most. Their black metal wave number 1, their punk-ish wave number 2, and then their rebuttal, which is wave number 3. I'll see you guys in the next one.